Nug wanted to make an appearance this week on this week's episode of the Van Build series. Hi everybody, it's Nugget. I hear some of you miss me, so I just wanted to say hello to all of my fans and friends out there that love to hear from me. Okay, this is where I'll be now. Good night.
On last week's episode, we started framing out the bathroom and building the kitchen. This week, we're continuing the work on the kitchen. We get creative with a platform bed design, and a second van gets dropped off. So let's get started on this week's episode of the Van Build series.
And showing up our second van. Look at that sexy thing. Bring it on in. We just got our second van and he's cleaning it out for us right now. Because he's been living in it like a total nomad for the last few days. He was technically supposed to drop it off on Friday, but we weren't really going to be doing any work on it until today. So he's been enjoying time in San Diego, experiencing San Diego van life, which there's a lot to offer here. It's pretty sweet. So Ethan's been living in this van for almost 2 years now, right?
Yep. Coming up on it.
With a very minimal build.
Yep, there was a cabinet right here, but you stole that from me.
I already demoed it. So what for you is the motivation right now to do more of a build out, to essentially do a remodel on your van?
So the idea being kind of proof of concept was me jumping in here. I really like a lot of wood and stuff, and then I threw like some Lowe's cabinets in. So it was really like, do I like van life? Like, am I gonna, it's one thing to go on a weekend trip to be like, oh yeah, this is fun. Like, I'm mountain biking, but then it's like coming back from mountain biking and cooking and cleaning and finding a place to sleep. Like, does that wear on you? Do I like it? So it was like a year and a half, almost 2 years now of proof of concept. And then, especially after seeing your van, following your van on Instagram, kind of seeing more of the homey feel. I've seen a lot of adventure vans out there and I actually got quoted on some of that because I was like, when my head was going that direction. But now it's all like, I want the home feel. Like, right. That's more or less what I'm after.
Very cool.
Because I love it.
Yeah. I mean, 2 years, that's what like most van lifers will do just in their whole van life experience. That was proof of concept for him.
I don't have any tattoos. Like, fear of commitment, maybe a little bit. A little challenge there.
Got it. Well, we're excited to crank this out. Talk to us about like one or two things that you really want to incorporate into this van that are really important for you.
So the bike inside. So my biggest thing of like doing the whole van life was I love mountain biking. So like being at trails, waking up at trailheads, that whole thing, being able to do that all across the US. So the bike is very expensive, so putting that inside the vehicle versus I'm still going to get, like, I want the bumper, like if I want to shuttle friends or like go with my younger brother to put more bikes in, but at least my main bike, I would love to have it inside. And I know there's that challenge that you'll of course engineer out with, having the dining room table as well for like the office, because that's like the next thing would be, this is also where I do all my business. So I need to have that workspace so I don't always have to be going to coffee shops. And I love going to coffee shops, but like being able to, like a morning like today where you can wake up, right by the ocean, if you can crank out actual work there versus like laying in a lofted bed is cool to think you're going to do work, like for a picture, but you're not getting anything done.
Yeah, not necessarily as productive laying in bed as you are at a table. Today we're going to be talking a little bit about 80-20 because this is the first build we're actually going to be incorporating in some 80-20. The two builds that we're working on right now for Ryan and for Ethan, both of them, a huge priority was having indoor storage for their mountain bikes. If you are a mountain bike enthusiast, you know that a typical downhill or cross-country mountain bike, those run anywhere upwards of like $4,000 to $8,000 depending on what you've got. So it's not something you necessarily want to have just hanging out on the outside of your van. So for these two guys, we're building about a 16.5-inch garage space that they'll be able to take the front wheel off and actually slide the bike in underneath their bed. And on top of that, they will still have the convertible bed table space. So they don't have a full-time garage, but we're giving them just enough garage space to store their bikes and their dirty biking shoes and gloves and helmets and all that good stuff. So what we're using to build these, raised garage platforms is actually this 80-20 Ready Tube. Now this is really cool stuff because it allows you to design it ahead of time, order the pieces in the exact lengths that you need, and then they call it the constructor's erector set. It shows up and all you've got to do is put it together. So it's a pretty simple process. The design is probably the most challenging aspect. The first time I designed these, I then went through to go and order all the sizes that I had spec'd out, only to find out that because this is 1.5-inch Ready Tube, and there are these holes every 1.5 inches, everything that you build has to be divisible by 1.5. So there's a little bit of a math headache that goes on with that process, but once you get it figured out, it's really cool to work with. So what we have here, this is going to be the side piece to their platform. So as you see, we've got the 1.5" ready tube, and then on top of that, they have this 1.5" aluminum flange as well. So what this is going to allow me to do is sit this whole thing on a steel stud frame, but then also screw in and attach this to a furring strip so that we have support below, but we're still attached to the frame of the van as well. So it's going to make it extra stable. And then what we have, these smaller tubes, it's a really cool connection system because they have these little inserts that slide into the tube. And once it slides in, then you take these bolts and you run it through and you just connect a nut on the other side. Now, when I do connect these, like all these, I went ahead and connected ahead of time. So that when I build out my frame, all I have to do is make my connections going through the tube like this. I did use some thread lock to make sure that these are going to stay nice and tight and they're not going to loosen up because of the vibrations in the van. So when you put these bolts on, I would highly recommend using some kind of a thread lock for that.
We have our kitchen all face frame now. We're gonna work on building the drawers and putting the fronts on. Now, one of the reasons why we put a face frame on is it really does give it a more finished look. Also in a van for upper cabinets, it's really nice putting the face frame on because it helps hold the stuff in your cabinets when you're in a van and moving all around. So it's really nice in that way too. So we're gonna work on, like I said, the drawers and fronts today, and we're gonna start building out his dresser today. So pretty exciting. Next week we'll have a lot of updates with all this cabinetry stuff. I kind of gave a walkthrough last time, so if you missed that, check out the last video.
So gonna go and give Ethan a ride to the airport so he can fly back to wherever he's flying off to like a vagabond, and then go drop his van off at Tim's and have him check it out because we're gonna be taking that wrap off and maybe doing like an extreme paint job on the outside. Now his layout is gonna be fairly similar to Ryan's, who we are already building. Actually, they're really good friends, and Ethan was a referral from Ryan. So it's really cool that we can build really awesome vans for a couple of really cool people who are going to be hitting the road and traveling a lot together. Thank you so much for watching this episode. If you have questions or comments, drop them down below, and we will see you guys next week. Later.